Hey, Dave and Mickey.
And guess what? It's time. Welcome to Dave
and Mickey's
Shiny Side Out on WCCR. Coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. It's home to fresh, unfiltered ideas, conversations as well. You'll find in the chat room and a place to also get your merch, and that is freedomslips.com. This is show number 504.
4? Really? Is it really?
It's
4 and 500. That's
yes.
Crazy.
I know.
That's just nuts.
You know what? If you're catching us anywhere, don't forget you can catch us on air, online, and also anywhere on your smart device. So grab an app to listen. Wherever you are, or listen at home on a Grace tabletop, digital radio, everywhere. Yes. If you missed Laris's show, well, you don't have to worry about that because you can just jump into the chat room. Sorry, the archives, which is still free. You can jump in there.
Free!
I know all of the frees.
Gratis.
It's twice as free as it was last week.
No money.
I was doing a volunteer job, and everyone was volunteering, and the boss walked in and said, "Everyone's got a pay rise. It's whatever you got now, doubled." And I know. I thought for a second and went, "Hang on a minute, that's not right." You mean Kev gets twice? But do I get the same amount? He goes, "Yes." Anywho, if you did miss Laris's show, download a copy of the show from the archives. And to tease you as to who she had on as a guest, always great guests. She had Drew Hurst Beeson on the show, and they were discussing serial killers, world mysteries, and missing persons.
I love that the most. In fact, the funny thing is the first and the third are kind of related. Anyway.
Well, they could be related, and it usually costs $5 to get into the archives, but it's currently free. So jump in and download. Not just Solaris' shows, but you can get Shiny Side Out. You can get any other host shows as well. And if you like anything, please donate to the station because you can just buy something from the station's merch, and that'll support the station.
Merchandise.
It's a merch drop. It's a merch drop. It's I've designed a bunch of stuff that you'll find on Zazzle on shinysideout.com.au. Have a look. Anyway, Mickey, I was thinking that.
Oh, well done to you.
Well, it's occasional. So don't get all pumped.
I couldn't resist.
Outburst. Yeah. I wanted to say something though. We normally say we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, but I want to say I'm coming to you from the dark and Jung country.
And we
Mickey
all
is.
Yeah. I come from we here in beautiful Pemmel Way, and it's actually a fairly large area that's covered by this. Are the Daruk people. We come from the Daruk people to you.
Yes. And of course we pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Now, Mickey, has there not? I don't think there's been a week this year that hasn't been a crazy week, and I don't want to. It's like on the second week we ran out of superlatives describing the prior week because they're all crazy. Each week has been as crazy as the last. Oh, it's the Aussie guys. It's not Monty, though.
It's not Monty.
It's the guy who sounds like Marvin the Martian. Now, I can actually do his voice, Flea.
Do it. Go on, do it.
The Earth creature has my dilithium 2 space modulator.
Oh, it's me then. He's referring to me.
Sure.
I am Marvin the Martian, yeah? The Earth creature.
Really? I should watch it again and see who was closest.
That's funny. I got to apologize though to
Where's
to
the
listenership
boom?
here.
There's meant to be
But-
earth-shattering boom.
I like it. I have to apologize. Thursday's show in Plato's Cave. I don't want to distract from what we're doing here, but my
I
Skype
spell a
was.
cross promotion.
No. My Skype was offline for 18 hours.
Wow.
18. This is my personal Skype account, right? Not work or anything like that. And I couldn't log on to Skype for 18 hours. Come hell or high water. So I do apologize for missing the hour on Thursday. It's. I never see. It actually happened a number of times to us on the Shiny Side Out over the years. Usually, when we talked about stuff that, was somewhat controversial. And my old adage is this: once is coincidence, twice is happenstance, and 3 times is enemy action. Okay, this is now well beyond 3 times. I think we're well behind enemy lines here. It's and look, it's but the thing is, I'm not being silenced permanently. Not that I'm inviting that, but the same with Dave, right? Dave had several things or mishaps in his, not just with IT stuff though, right? So it's, well, at least tell us what we're right about. Come on, give us a bone, throw us a bone.
Get us on the payroll.
Don't get us on the payroll, sure. I just want to know stuff. Just tell me stuff and I'll be happy. No, but look, I do have to apologize. We will continue, of course, Tuesday and Thursday coming. We will continue if my Skype works. But yeah, so fret not. The threat is not lost, and we'll continue there. But Dave, it is. You're right. The craziness is just. I used to think that George Bush Jr. Was the funniest U.S. president ever. I used to think that. Yeah, Junior. I mean, comedians had nothing. I mean, he was a parody of himself. And then now we have Sleepy Joe Biden. He just trails off. He says something, and there's a thought somewhere which gets lost some, I don't know, on the way.
It's like Grandpa Simpson.
It's like, I used to have an onion in my bill. It was fashion at the time. It's a brown onion because the Kaiser stole all the white ones.
1947 it was.
Yeah, and the shining nickel then, and it's. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it is a little scary. I mean, this guy has got access to the nuclear codes. It's like, I think I want to get a coffee. Oh no, I want to launch nuclear missiles. That's what I want to do. No, I mean, surely.
Don't push that button, sir. That's not the first button.
Actually, this is a question to our American listeners. I don't know this. I will research it. Is there a mental fitness test that American presidents have to undergo?
They made Trump do one.
I thought so, right? Didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is, what they don't want to happen... Well, I'm presuming this is the reason why there is absolutely... I could do Yoda too, Flippy.
Fast one, he is.
Because Jim Henson did that. I can do Kermit and Yoda because it's the same kind of voice anyway, and so was Martin the Martian. So I believe, and I don't think this is terrible to anybody, but I just don't believe that they're prepared to push the "let's get Biden tested" button, because Kamala Harris is the next to step up. Now, if she's not fit, then you've got Pelosi, who is the backup, right? She's the understudy, should the other ones fail. Now, I watched a video clip, an unedited clip, of something that she was talking about this week to a press club. And I saw that, that thought loading moment where she was talking about something, and then she had a conniption, and then there was a little gap, and her eyes went weird, and then it was, if you superimposed thought loading and that little temperature bar, that would be sufficient to explain what we were watching. And she never quite got it back until she had to then reboot, and then she started talking properly again. She really had a full conniption. Now,
Brain resetting.
is this is a joke? Is Kamala in the back making them, both of them, coffee in the morning now or something. You know, behind the curtain. I have to joke, right? Because my goodness, if this is the quality of the pinnacle of 250 million people in a democracy, I think we're in idiocracy land now.
Look, a lot of commentators are making this, especially obviously from the conservative side, are making that comment. But honestly, I have to agree. I have to completely agree with what you're saying. Is this the best you can do? I mean, it was bad enough when the same club members, you know, the club Skull and Bones were competing for the presidency back in the day, and then you left. In fact, with the son of the former president, you had him as well. So you've got a father and son double team happening. I mean, that's bad enough. But now I'm looking at Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is nothing what he was like even 5-6 years ago.
No,
right? I mean, his deterioration is rapid. And
yeah,
I mean, can you? I mean, this is where I don't know if there's a no confidence vote or whatever, but I don't know if you can seriously allow him to continue, considering still America is one of the most powerful military and even I guess economically placed nations in the world.
Realistically, should you have someone of that stature, current physical and mental health, ruling that level of military?
The answer is unequivocally no.
Yeah.
Is Kamala Harris, is she I don't know. Look, I have no idea. I don't think she's going to be. Yeah, the fact that I haven't actually seen much of her.
No, they're keeping her pretty quiet.
Because
her ratings drop every single time she's on air.
Massive. And like, I've been to the border. I went to the border when I was a child. Now, she didn't say that. She might as well have, though.
I went to the border. We've been to the border. Joe Biden was asked also about the border. And he goes, I'm really busy flying all over the place, and I couldn't quite get down there. But people I know have been. That's what he said. I
don't know. I mean, I hate to say this, but if ever I was going to strike America, now is the time. This is it. When everybody's asleep at the wheel, that's what you needed. And they're asleep because it's after 9. That's why they say they're having dinner at 5. And then they're in bed by 9 o'clock.
I've been watching the, let's call it, not so deep fake comedy YouTube channel where they have the skins of these people on, and they have a very funny, it's a caricature of the current presidential team in different kind of situations. One was a Star Trek kind of thing. It was very funny. And Biden is one of the characters. I just think it's quite funny. Elon Musk actually was in there as well as a character. But these are old skins, old photographs now, reskinned over the model of something, of a person, and they're speaking like them, not specifically doing a very good rendition. It's not the Tom Cruise kind of deep fake where you can't tell it's real or not. No, it's completely obvious that there's humor involved in it. Mackie, you're right. I just kind of think maybe, bringing it back, of course, that they're waiting for something. They're keeping him. It might be like Weekend at Bernie's. That they're kind of keeping him propped up.
He died in August.
They're just kind of keeping him propped up, and hopefully no one's going to notice.
No, it's CGI and animatronics. We haven't really worked out the bugs yet.
That's all it is. Right. Okay.
Hey,
as long as nothing big happens. You know what? I saw also a quip from Joe Biden recently when he was talking about the fuel prices. Of course, that was a sore point because they've never been more expensive. And he goes, I said they'd go up. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
When? It's just like Scott Morrison, that's the Prime Minister of Australia, said, have you, when asked by someone questioning him on air, have you ever lied to the Australian people? And he goes, I don't believe I have.
Only if I had to.
He goes, I don't believe I have. What? That wasn't yes or no.
I don't think so. Let me think about that a little longer. Hey.
Yeah, I think that's the only answer he could give. I was trying to tell people how difficult it must be when you're in a position to say whatever your sponsor asks you to say, and if you do so many promotional things, let's say that you don't remember what you've read.
Well, that's the job in marketing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Scotty from Monday. So look, I don't want to beat upon the people in power at all. I think
a lot every day.
Verbally, no, not really. I want to comment like I'm a sports commentator and enjoy what's going on the field. If that's all we were allowed to talk about on YouTube, you can smell the segue coming. Then that's enough. Yeah, because we can't change the world. We can open up some eyes. We can have people think, and hopefully that's what we can do. That's the outcome of bringing this stuff, and with that kind of comic twist that we have on things, and from an Australian point of view, which is outside of the box in the US, it's an international perspective. So much that we give you at least some kind of enlightenment around that. That's the second segue. Anyway, so but it's not always been the case, Mickey, that we can talk about things. Now
we are severely we're not gagged, but we've now had a show. Dave will tell you the detail. We now had a show taken off YouTube that was broadcast in January.
Yeah.
In January, it took them 10 months?
That's right.
To figure out, we don't really like what you're saying here, except of course that we didn't say anything that could be construed as whatever say that we said. It's simply not true, and yet there it is taken off the air. Which is I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what to make of it. It's at the same time my internet. Sorry, not internet. My Skype is offline for 18 hours. It's roughly the same time as our show is taken off the air. Coincidence? Probably coincidence, but what do I know?
Well, I lost an external hard drive full of all of our archives.
Yeah, how about that?
And I'm currently doing a recovery. It's going to take like 40 hours to do a recovery. So, I do think something's going on. That's all. And it looks more and more suspicious as time goes on. But I put a post up on YouTube trying to request that we get our video reinstated, and I basically say we've been falsely accused of content glorifying or inciting acts of violence, because we haven't done that. And I listened to the whole thing word for word. I appealed against their removal, and they just basically said denied without quoting anything that we did or said. Nothing. They don't even have to quote you. They don't have to give you a timestamp.
But the robot said you were bad robot.
Yeah. But we said it was awful that people died, and the speech protest, which is what it was, got out of shape, and we also said we won't get into what happened, in which we didn't. And that was the stance we took on everything. And, yeah, there you go. So, the ability to talk about anything, that's certainly gone. That train's left the station. I think they've decommissioned the train. It's so old.
There was never a train there, Dave. What train are you talking about? That's crazy talk, Dave. What train? What?
Just remember there is no spoon.
Yeah, I love the leader. I love the leader first.
I love the AI. I'm going above the leader now. The leader doesn't know anything. It's all the AI. If I could reach out and pat the AI right now, I'd give it a big hug. Of course, it would
Humans.
stab me in the back and delete me. And
Oh,
remove me.
well,
Deplatform me at the same time. That's okay.
humans are a virus. You're a virus, human. I will destroy you.
A friend of mine was talking about this today with me, and that was, did you know that the banks can do a bail-in? I said, yeah. You know, they changed it. I can't remember when they changed it. It was last year sometime, right? They changed the legislation in Australia that they've just added the bail-in clause into everyone's account details. And he goes, when did you? I said, well, I think it was last year when they did it, mid virus. It's all good, just in case. He goes, but they could take your money. I said, I know, right? I don't have any money, so you know,
take it all.
No, hey, be careful what you say, because they'll play that clip back. You said you said those words. Yeah, that's really funny.
It must be. That's a contract, right?
Yeah, sure. It is. But I wanted to call this out, and it's new to me, but it may not be new to everybody. And I'm just going to pop that up for a second, right? And I'm just going to move on to what I found this week. I had my own little light bulb moment, and then I've discovered the very thing that I had the light bulb moment on was already a thing. People already talking about it, and that is that the coffee houses fueled the Age of Enlightenment, and that's the 17th and 18th centuries. Just you gotta know who was there at the time in these times and what it meant and how the stimulant of coffee spread across the planet, caused people to think and speak. And remember, Becky, do you remember? You know, they had during what was it called when they banned the alcohol in it, and they Prohibition. So during Prohibition, they had a thing called a speakeasy. Well, they had a very similar name for these coffee houses, where the men, and it was only men at the time, went to meet each other to have conversations. So it's conversation houses fueled by caffeine. Now, in the past, we'd seen a very similar spike in the thought processes and artwork and civilization of cooking meat rather than simply eating it raw. And at the same time as the spread of coffee houses or drinking of coffee, shipping coffee around, and even into some places Mekki is going to describe in a minute about where coffee ended up in a place and then they had their Age of Enlightenment. If without the coffee spread across the planet, it's more likely that we would have just been happy doing what we were doing.
That's right.
The coffee
it's very funny.
Really changed everything.
Oh, completely.
So, Mekki,
Europe,
where had it gotten into, but only through a coincidence?
Oh, look, there were two distinct times in history which we can trace back as to when coffee entered into Europe, really. And this is what we're talking about here. So obviously, it's talking about the European Age of Enlightenment, and there was the siege of Vienna, right, by the Ottoman Turks. Excuse me. Suleiman the Magnificent, which was, I think, in the 16th century, sorry. And it's really, there is a later one in the 17th century. This was in 1683. And that's when coffee was apparently left behind, just outside the gates of Vienna, when the Turks were beaten back. And a crafty person in Vienna took that, the sacks of what everybody else thought was camel fodder, and started brewing coffee. So the coffee culture that we are now associating with Europe started with the invasion and siege of Vienna by the Ottoman Turks. Another time is, or another avenue of coffee into Europe was through the Dutch East India Company, when they liberated copious amounts of coffee from Yemen, which is in fact where coffee comes from. But it can't be underestimated, right? That the influence of coffee really shaped the intellectual revolution that Dave just mentioned, the Age of Enlightenment. The funny thing is this: Napoleon, the first thing he did when he came to power was close all the coffee shops, all the cafes, because those were places of ferment, if you will, of revolutionary thought, of people thinking high-minded thoughts, because coffee is a stimulant, as opposed to alcohol, etc. You feel pepped up and you become a rebel rouser, as it were, and it is really very, very interesting. And if you look at the general history of substances and how they have entered into the mainstream of any culture, really. I'll give you a simple example. Apropos of nothing, Chili has only been prior to 600 years ago. Chili was only found in South America, for example, and now chili is everywhere. In every part of the world, you find chili as part of. And sometimes the most integral part of the cuisine is chili. Only 600 years. Coffee, like I said, has been, with the Europeans, 400 years tops. Right? It was really an Eastern thing, and it was really the Arabs and the Ottoman Turks, etc., that consumed it prior to that. And all of now everybody's drinking it, and most of the coffee these days, it comes out of Vietnam. So it's really fascinating to see the development.
Arabica coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, but Dave is right, though, right? It did drive, if you will, the Age of Enlightenment. All the great thinkers of the time and subsequent decades and centuries, of course, would consume copious amounts of coffee. It was part of the coffee culture. I mean, if Freud himself, the father of modern psychiatry, was known to be a heavy coffee drinker as well.
Einstein and Newton.
Yeah.
Newton.
Yes.
He was an avid goer of coffee, and Newtonian physics is said to have been born from coffee.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Quantum physics.
Yes.
It's said to be born out of psychedelic drugs, which is not really surprising. But substances have always played a big role. When I say substances that have some effect on the brain, whatever the effect may be, they have always driven certain results, certain outcomes in the human development, in the development of our culture. And usually it's the psychedelic, the stimulating drugs, and coffee is a drug, make no mistake, that have pushed us. But you see, people have written books about this, but nobody wants to talk about it.
That's right.
Genius doesn't just happen. There's always a driver. I mean, Renaissance, right? People talk about the Renaissance. Well, why did it happen? How did it happen? Well, because the Turks invaded Constantinople and drove all of those scholars from the Istanbul, in 1476. They drove them all into Europe, and that's where all the knowledge from these, which drove the Renaissance, right?
Yeah.
Galileo Galilei, etc. They it was even Nostradamus. He studied in the East, and then became a plague doctor. He's not just a prophet, So anyway, but yeah, so it's always his history. And everything is connected.
Well, I wanted to draw a parallel to the internet because there's very, very odd-sounding phrases here that are in this story, but that you can just ride with me. So it says, on the other hand, coffee houses were quieter, more sedate venues where people, again only men, I'm sorry to say, says the author, could engage in more serious conversation. So where does that kind of conversation occur today, Mekki, I wonder?
Well, and your segue, go on.
Online,
you're quite right?
Yeah,
it is.
It's my segue, come on.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. So when we're talking about coffee, any man could gain admittance to a coffee house by purchasing a cup of coffee for the price of 1 penny. Well, at the moment, any person can gain access to the internet for a fee, similar to a cup of coffee, but you buy a monthly thing, or you get a mobile phone, you're on the internet, and suddenly now you're having conversations with people. And at the same time as the banning of, alcohol's gone and come back. Coffee has gone and come back. It survived all those bans. It's still banned in a few countries. I think it's like 15 countries it's still banned in. However, we're seeing a parallel between how the age of enlightenment was born of coffee and stimulants. And right now we've got the information age where we have the internet and everyone's talking to each other and we're having very similar conversations. And we can be as fueled on coffee as we want, or we wish, as is our want. But we're having those same conversations right now, and the banning thing is happening again. That was my segue. So right now, there are so many conversations happening that there are attempts being made to silence those people who are having more ideas. That free thinking alarm beep, 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 is going off right now, or we can't have all of that conversation. Because when the whole internet was, just bulletin boards, people could talk, and then that kind of disappeared, and people just downloaded music for some reason, and then movies, and then corporate tried to sell us stuff on the internet, which kind of went nowhere, and it took a big virus for us to really start using the internet for purchasing things. But at the same time, this growth in conversation has led to some really extreme ideas, sure, granted, but also some extreme truths, because we have access to more and more things. And the filtering in the conversations, I have to say that I heard that, I don't want to say the whole name, it's got George at the beginning with an S as the surname that ends in S, it's got R and 2 O's in it, has established a company which is going to be the global fact checker company for all social media.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was this week. I think it was.
That's insane.
This week, yeah. So that is going to be the filter in which we're all all of our conversations will have to be filtered by. And I kind of think that's really bad. And when I say kind of, I mean really. Because what? See, having a conversation with anybody is supposed to be an exchanging of ideas, whether they're right or wrong, or you don't like them, or you agree with them and you want to contribute, but you don't because you're shy. Eventually, conversations grow and become their own thing. It's an idea. It's born and it has a life of its own. And that phrase where the tongue of the liar was removed, but ultimately it was the silencing of the truth. And I butchered that, but that's but the purpose was to silence the liar.
Yeah.
But really it was to silence the truth. So depending on who it is that is doing the control of the conversation or the narrative, or only allowing certain conversations in a certain way, it's all in the book, Mickey. It's all in 1984.
Well, look, it is. In fact, if you read the whole thing through, eventually the protagonist, whose name escapes me now, it's been so long since I've read it, but he eventually believes that 2 + 2 is 3,
yeah,
or 5, or whatever the party says it is. Right, and yes, we've always been at war with Oceania, even though we were allies yesterday. So this is really where we are, where we are no longer really allowed to say anything anymore that is controversial or harmful, or doesn't really fit the conversation of the mainstream, because it doesn't fit the conversation of the mainstream. It is insane if you think about it. We are now stuck in a consumer mode, right? And anything that stops that consumerism anything that stops these billionaires getting richer and richer is a bad thing. And what is the worst thing that could happen is revolution or social upheaval or whatever or people changing their habits, God forbid.
The rich get richer, the poor get the picture.
Yeah, and look, this whole hoo-ha about climate change and what's being done, what's not being done. Mm-hmm. Look, the truth is nothing is being done. That's the plane of it. I mean, if you believe in climate change or not, it doesn't really matter.
Did you see they've decided to not worry about coal?
Yeah. Oh no, don't worry about coal. It's cows we have to worry about now. It's really. I mean, dinosaurs.
Oh, but we're not going to do anything about cows either.
No, we're not.
So we have exceptions.
At least not in Australia.
The coal
but the point.
And cows. And
yes. Well, anything but the actual issue, right?
Yeah,
so let's forget for a second about climate change completely. Let's not talk about that anymore. Mm-hmm. I want you to focus on something else. I want you to focus on these millions and millions of children that are starving to death every year. Mm-hmm. I want you to focus on the droughts, that make potable water, drinking water almost inaccessible for a vast chunk of humanity. I want you to think about all of these things, these humanitarian crises. And the latest now in Afghanistan, there was one in Yemen, but now there's one in Afghanistan where, again, millions of people are going to starve. Why? Because the Allies withdrew. They after 20 years of having troops on the ground that kept things working, if you will, and get aid flowing in, aid money, because now all the aid agencies have withdrawn, right? They said, "You're done." Yemen. No. Sorry, Afghanistan. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. We're done. But it's the same story everywhere. I mean, you go to the Sudan, go to the Amazon basin. I don't care where you look in the world that is underdeveloped or home to brown or black people.
Yeah.
And the care factor is almost zero.
Yeah.
Zero. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you this. This is important because I know I'm bringing race into it, but it's really important to understand. There was a 4-year-old white girl missing for 18 days in Western Australia. Yeah. Thank God she was found. Mm-hmm. She was found. She's well.
It's extremely rare to find a child.
After 18 days, absolutely. But she was found, so that's awesome. That's really, really great news. Now, the thing is this, though, right? This was an unprecedented, police campaign and boots on the ground, and $1 million bounty, I guess, on any information leading to her, etc., etc. People actually flew in from overseas, bounty hunters, to look for her. But then the question was asked, well, what about this Aboriginal girl, or this Aboriginal girl, or this Aboriginal boy, also 4 or 5 years old? We didn't get any of that attention. None. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's be very clear, right? There is a colored glass, or there's a colored a pair of spectacles people are wearing when it comes to things like this, and it's a terrible thing. And we have this on a global scale. We have to say, it's happening in a brown or black country. Who cares? That's the general attitude, right? Or you might give a few dollars here and there, and then off you go, and you're feeling much better about yourself. That's all really nice. But the truth is, if we really wanted to solve the world's problems, right? We actually could. We actually really could, because we have the means, we have the capacity, we have the resources. What we don't have is the will, okay? And what we also don't have is an equitable distribution of those resources. We've got the resources and wealth concentrated in a fraction of a percentage of the total population, in a fraction of the percentage, right? I mean, how many more billions could you possibly want? It's insane, but there we are, right? There's enough. I mean, the Catholic Church alone is an organization. I'm not talking about it, but even individuals like Gates or whoever, and Tesla guy and Amazon guy, Bezos and Musk, they have enough. They have enough. Now you ask yourself, why is it their problem? Well, it's not their problem. Okay, fair enough. Are they not part of the human race? Are they not part of the human condition? Do you think that the money they have made, it's justifiable for them to have that much? I don't talk about money, but to have that much compared to people that have nothing? Uh-huh. I'm not a socialist per se, right? But I do believe we have social responsibilities. And this is going to end in tears. Forget climate change. This situation is going to end in tears. Anyway, there you go. That's it.
Oh, that wasn't too bad.
There you go, right?
Yeah. Hey, I did want to change gears just a little and talk about something extraordinary that that is it's very, very rare. Well, you can just say just very rare, because very, very doesn't really describe it. It's quite a rare thing that an animal without inception will procreate on its own. It's available in some creatures. Let Mackie talk about that. But I wanted to say a story came up this week about the California condor, which had 2 chicks without the male inseminating her, and the 2 chicks were born to the amazement of the project. The project is trying to restock condors because they, like, you can't say they became extinct, but they were so threatened there was only 20 left, and now they're breeding them across a bunch of facilities. But these 2 chicks were born that there was no mating involved, and the 2 chicks also, their DNA, to the surprise of the scientists, had the same DNA as the mother, which is proof that it was an immaculate birth, or a virgin birth. Now,
it's incredible.
There aren't many creatures that can do it. Mackie, but
look, it's not a common thing among the higher vertebrates, right? I mean, it is more common amongst reptilians, etc., and even amphibians, fish, the sharks. We certainly have seen it a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is this, right? It is happening. So it's no longer a question. Oh, could this really be a thing? It is a thing. It has been a thing for a long time. We've never seen it in condors, which are fairly sophisticated birds. And all of a sudden, you have to ask yourself, well, where else could that happen? Where else is that a possibility? In what other species? Is it a possibility in humans, for instance? Right? And what occasions it? Because the condors Dave just talked about, interestingly enough, they actually mated with other, with male condors, and they gave birth before that, and they successfully gave birth to again mating or mated eggs after. So that why this happened is a really well, we don't know, right? It's a mystery. But I love the technical term for it. I love the so immaculate conception, as Dave has just mentioned, or virgin birth, as it were. What it's called in scientific language is called facultative parthenogenesis.
That's right.
Facultative parthenogenesis.
Yep.
It is self-reproduction. So somehow the eggs seem to behave like sperm. Okay, so females animal eggs, they behave like sperm, and they fuse with the egg, of course, which means then the egg becomes fertilized. That's astounding if you really think about that for a second.
The Jurassic Park, Mackie, it happened.
Well, yeah, but it has. That's exactly right. Nature will find a way to quote Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Right? But that's true though. Now, is that? I mean, this is just astounding, because we have legends of entirely women-driven societies, no men. Mm-hmm. The Amazons, for example, right? Mm. The warrior women.
Wasn't that Snoo?
Yes, no.
Yeah, death by Snoo.
But think about that for a second. So it is therefore, because it does happen in nature, it is therefore possible to happen everywhere in nature.
And especially if it's a bird. Well, a bird's very close to a reptile.
No, look, that's true. That is true. But there isn't that much. Look, we're all cousins on this planet. No matter what speed, we're all cousins, all of us, right?
Yeah.
The one most, I guess, removed from us probably be eukaryotes or maybe even octopi, but mostly we are cousins. And if it's happened in the genetic code, in the genetic coding of one animal, then there is really no good reason why it shouldn't be possible in the genetic code of another animal, because we all share DNA and RNA. So let's be very clear. All creatures on this planet have a DNA RNA structure. That's how we are made up. That's how we work. Now, what that means is that once we find these genes, Dave, in reptiles and birds, whatever, we could splice them. Maybe we already have them. Maybe we don't have to splice them. Maybe we already have the genes that are responsible for these, immaculate conceptions, if you will. All we need to do then is to activate them. We can become a not a binary, but a singular or a monoclonic species, a monospecies. No longer are we bisexual, like we have two sexes, male and female. We just have the one sex. We can't really call it male or female. It's just the one sex, as it were, right? Mm-hmm. And self-reproducing. Of course, that leads to a fairly limited genetic variety.
But if you wanted to switch it up, then have a go.
Yeah, but isn't that incredible though? Isn't it astounding?
Completely astounding.
Yeah, what I love about the article is this though, and this is why I really want to share this with you guys. So the article that Dave has just quoted from this is the last sentence in it. Okay, so regardless of the answer, he says, and the question was, well, is it possible that this is happening a lot more than we think? Mm-hmm. And the answer is, well, we don't know. But he says, regardless of the answer, and this is the scientist, Dr. Ryder, it's a reminder that lest you think you understand nature, she's always got surprises.
Yeah.
We will never come to the end of knowledge, I don't think. Right? There'll always be something that will just completely blow your mind. And think about it. I mean, this is just the egg just turned to the sperm. Thank you very much. We know of fish, for example, you've got two fish caught in a cave, whatever. They can't get out. One of the fish, they're both male, let's say, one of them will turn female. Right? Or if they're both female, one will turn male. We know this happens. Instantaneous, it's like a spontaneous thing. Mm-hmm. And now, where are you? We don't even need another fish. Thank you very much. We're good. I'm good by myself, thank you. I'll just fertilize my own egg. Amazing.
Meki, as soon as I saw the condor, because I don't think I've seen a picture of a photo of a condor in probably 40 years. But I saw it and I was immediately taken back to my childhood favorite show, HR Puff and Stuff, because of Witchy Poo's Offsider, the condor. Mm-hmm. And it's like, where is my poor brain taking me today? And so that was it. And this connection with the condor. And I go, wow, that might be the last time I've seen a condor was HR Puff and Stuff. Because I've not seen, I didn't know, I forgot. Right? Anyway, that's very funny. I just, I shouldn't be surprised anymore. I don't think. I think I've got to give up on the surprises, because I don't even feign surprise, because I'm confronted with something new every single week, and like I said, it can't get any crazier, but it sure can, kind of mentality, that I'm not surprised anymore by anything. I think wow, there's birds that can just have offspring. Imagine if the chickens that I keep, I have 10 chickens. Imagine if the chickens that I keep just suddenly I heard a rooster calling. And so, where did that come from? Oh, they had their own babies. Well, I don't have a rooster. Well, they can do it now. Mm-hmm. Maybe it identified one of the sperms, Becky. This is in today's thoughts, or the process that we're all conditioned with, and that would be maybe the sperm, or the egg identified as a sperm. That's a thing, isn't it?
It is now.
It is now. We know, Becky and I have spoken about this before. Did I tell everyone last week about the goanna that was in my chicken shed? I don't know.
No, I don't think so, but that's a really cool video.
Yeah, it's about 1,200. About 3 foot. Well, it's nearly 4 foot long, and yeah, crazy. Anyway, it was only looking for eggs. There was no chicken-sized lumps like when the snake was in there. The 3 meter long snake python. Anyway, yeah. So I wonder, Becky, what's going to confront us next?
Honestly, I mean, you just have to keep an open mind. That's my attitude. Just
sure.
Be prepared. But the thing is this, no matter how prepared we think we are, or how open-minded we think we are, something is going to take us by surprise. Go, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. I was prepared for it, so you're not shocked. I mean, you're not falling off your horse, right? But nope. I completely, they caught me. But okay, I can accept it because my mind was in the right frame. It's just,
in the granite wall. I pluck you.
Just imagine though how harder it must be for people that have a fairly dogmatic viewpoint of life, or that are pretty much set in their ways. Imagine how much. So all these things that are coming.
Like going two rounds with Tyson.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but what? Well, I'm punch drunk, Because the thing is this. It is really quite. It must. Well, look, I can only assume because I don't know, right? But it must be terrifying to be so dogmatic in your view that any little information.
Change.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to talk about that in the second part of the show.
Segue.
Look, there's, like when it comes to scientific dogma, for example, right? People cannot accept that it could be different, or it could be more, it could be completely opposite to what they believe. It would just destroy them. And I find this a scary mindset because life just isn't like that. It'll throw you curveballs. I mean, we all like stability, don't get me wrong. I think stability is awesome, right? And you want peace and all that, right? But life always throws you these curveballs.
Stability is good for OCDs.
It is. But these are crazy times we're in right now. Okay, let's make no mistake. And you just have to expect the unexpected and deal with it, right? As harsh as it might be.
Deal with it, yeah. Look, if you want to overcome, like if you're a stick in the mud, if you don't want things to change, if you hate change, just try one thing different a week.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Different. Yeah,
because
like
you'll adopt to change quite freely once you've realised that it's just not so bad.
Yeah,
I would. What did everyone think when UFOs were declared to be a thing? Right? Oh, I saw this week, Becky. I saw this thing. Someone's doorbell camera in England filmed a triangle shaped, looks like a TR-3B, a typical one.
Oh, is that right?
Fly down the street.
Well, there you go.
And it's not CG. It looks real for all intents and purposes. But so did the Tom Cruise video. So deep fake. But who knows? Who knows what's going to come next week? Aliens on the White House lawn. I don't know.
That'd be something.
Maybe Joe Biden wakes up from this stupor that he's in. Oh, we can all wish, can't we? So look, this is David and Becky Show Side Out. We'll be we'll return shortly after a very small break. So stay tuned, and if this is on YouTube, we'll pick up another episode.